What's up, everybody? This is Tasteless. You're here on my YouTube channel. I am now trying to cast Brood War games regularly, as well as other RTS games that are going to be coming out in the future, like Stormgate and Zero Space. If you like content like this, please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be a lot more cool stuff like this on the way. And join me on my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/TastelessTV, where I record these live. This is a ZVP on the map Neo-Sylphid. This is best over here in the red on the right versus Hero here in the blue. And so Neo-Sylphid is a map we've had a lot of games on. I think this is one of the better maps that's been made. Honestly, for a map that has a little bit more complexity as far as, like, you know, low ground entrances. These are usually a little bit harder to balance. I think it's turned out to be a really fun, fair map that's made for some really interesting games, and I'm kind of glad to see after several years of ASL experimenting with pretty wacky maps that they brought maps like this in. ASL this season, by the way, is going on season 16, so do check that out. Excuse me. We've got the Gateway Expand opener here. This is Gateway on 9. Best is going to scout. This is intended, by the way, to intercept the Overlord if the Zerg is going to scout normally, so he does do that immediately. This causes a bit of a dilemma for the Zerg. Immediately, the hatchery is going to go down. This will be scouted, but luckily for the Zerg, it can't be denied. I don't know if this is a reaction just to the fact that this is scouted or not. I would be interested to get some insight here from a Zerg perspective, because it seems like this is kind of a safe way to just get your base up and then get a spawning pool immediately after that. So we've got the probe doing a little bit of harassment. We've talked a little bit about this opener over the last couple of years. This was an opener that nobody used back when I played Brood War before StarCraft 2. And when Remastered came out and Korea started doing StarCraft 1 tournaments, I did not know what was going on with this build. It looks very different. Historically, we had the 2-gate opener, and you would put pressure on with that. But basically, players have gotten so good, they can pressure with one Zealot and then immediately fall back, create a wall-in with, you know, a Forge or even a Core, and defend. It's probably one of the harder builds to pull off. If you're somebody who's trying to get back into the game, I would not recommend this. You're going to have a lot of problems. By the way, a little mini game here. Always, the drone will try to block 2 times versus the Zealot, if there's enough time to block 2 times, because it takes 3 hits to kill a drone. And even buying the extra few seconds before the Zealot gets there is big. Now, this Zealot, this is a really good position. Remember, you can basically 2-shot with a probe and a Zealot. He doesn't get a drone kill there, but this is the position that you want to set up. And the reason why this is so good is Zerg has to trade very unfavorably. And in case you're wondering what happens if they don't engage with this, the probe can actually fire through the mineral patches here and here and end up killing drones. So the Zerg is actually forced to do that. He does see the gas was taken before he was killed off. There's a second Zealot that's coming back in here. And dude, Hero is so good. You can see he's already wedged Zergling's back in this exact specific spot so that the Zealot couldn't get back here and trade as nicely, because this does create a hallway where it's Zealot, 1 Zealot versus 1 Zergling. Back at home, this is the safer of the responses to get the Forge out here. It looks like the Forge was actually made a little bit before the gas. That's usually the way to do it if you're going to kamikaze a couple Zealots in there. We've seen some players like Mini experiment with getting Core up even before Forge. But it seems like Zergs have responded to that meta-wise by being a little bit more aggressive. Hero's going for a layer, and if you look at the mini-map, he's fanning Zerglings out everywhere. And that's because players like Bisu got very good at hiding Zealots, you know, around these areas on the map. So that if the Zerglings tried to come in here and pressure and attack in, you'd have one more chance for a Zealot to run in and kill drones, like we see over here. So the cannon is coming along. The core was made before the cannon, so you could see there is a little bit of corner cutting here from Best. And from now, you know, there's a couple of choices here for the Zerg, but I think the most obvious one is probably just going to be a Spire to try to counter Corsairs that might come out. And teching accordingly. So the 4 Zealots, sometimes you'll see this done without the rush at the start, but the 4 Zealots is a number the Protoss can basically push out with. And the reason why you want to do this, because a lot of times you'll see the Zealots, you know, get killed and they don't do a whole lot. It's like, okay, well, why is this even happening? You would spot a Hydra bust when you come out with this. Now, Best is guessing. He doesn't know where the 3rd base is. He thinks it's here. It's not. It's over here where this extra hatchery is being made. But I think that Hero's actually going to come in here, depending on the micro, and basically win this fight. And there's not going to be much scouting done. Damn, Best's micro is actually crazy, dude. What? 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 And now he sees there's no base here. He's confirming with the Zealot. That is sick. He has another Zealot to come in and check over here. And obviously by now you know there's no Hydras coming, but he is getting some scouting off. Let's see what's happening back here. So positionally, this is, I think it was actually Bisu who made this setup popular. But getting the 2nd gateway here instead of in your main here, the reason why this is a thing at all is that if you're forced to make an Archon because they go for mass mutas, your Templar can't get sniped. So he comes through here. There should be Scourge coming. This is actually such a very, very fine timing to come through. So he's going to just confirm, okay, this is where the 3rd hatch is. There's always the possibility it's up here. And he's going to get air weapons, get the cannon, get the Zealot charge upgrade, and be on the defense. But this is the +1 air attack, Zealot charge, eventually into Templar Archives, possibly into an Archon, depending on how the Zerg behaves air tech-wise. And when you get the right setup, you're going to have Corsairs with +1 air attack. I think if you get up to 6, they 2-shot Scourge. I should know that, but I don't. And, you know, if you win the fight with the mutas, you can basically dive on top of the Overlords with the Corsairs while the Zealots kill off, you know, whatever they can find on the ground. And so the mutas have been masked up. It looks like it's 5. Sometimes Zergs stop at 5. 5's also, I find, a hard number for the Protoss to get a read on. Where it's like, are you going to make more than this? You know, when they're clumped up like this, it can be a little bit hard to tell. I don't think that's the rationale for why they get 5 or anything like that. I think 5 you can one-shot probes. Let's see. Well, if they all fire at the same time, I think you do. Now, the danger for the Protoss is he doesn't know if there's a Scourge trap somewhere like here or here that could flank him and kill off the Corsairs. So both sides have to be pretty conservative. And so back at home, we've got the Zerg just making you know, all the upgrades that they need for the time being. And basically just, you know, staying back. The Protoss gets that +1 upgrade. Here comes the DT with that, by the way. And so the idea is that the combination of the Corsairs, the Zealots, and then the DT, I mean, if you can actually kill, you know, any of the Overlords here and slip a DT, and that's huge too. So this is a very technical attack that, you know, it's pretty normalized now, but it is always impressive to see kind of at work here. Nothing really able to get done over here. Zergs have gotten so good at turtling that a lot of times this is almost more of a skill check than a true attempt to deny like a 3rd base. If the early game goes very poorly, basically you can confirm, okay, there's no 4th hatchery here. This is why 6 hatchery play like this has become so popular, is because the Zerg can't stop this, but they won't be killed by it if they camp like we're seeing here. So back at home, we've got the armor upgrade. This is one of the funny things is, like, now it seems like a lot of Protosses get +1 attack and then +2 armor to have a stronger push. That was another new idea that wasn't around back in the old days. This matchup had just a lot of revamping in how it was played as time passed. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gates coming up here. And a robo probably soon to be made. So there's a timing attack coming down here. One thing to point out is that normally you get about 4 cannons. I guess he's got 3 total if you look at that one down there. But he's set up his Zealots to basically counterattack. And so the idea is that he could attack here and kill off a hatchery like this and basically keep the 4th base denied. But as I'm watching this, I mean, doesn't it just seem like the Hydras can entomb the Zealots in their base and there's just not a lot they can do? Right? Now, with the Hydras over here, the Protoss can come in and kill off a lot of these Corsairs, but I find this trade maybe a little bit questionable. Denying a 4th is generally always pretty good, but, I mean, this is quite a cost. The 8 gateways are up. Dragoon range is almost done. It's interesting to see that he doesn't get a robo yet. Maybe he knows with the few meters that were out, you can't get Lurkers that fast. But the Lurker upgrade is coming, so he's going to have to get the tech to deal with that. So, sorry about the pauses, guys. I got to drink some water here. So, Protoss wants to try to slip up into this base. This is a pretty safe base to take. It doesn't have as many minerals as normal bases. You can also see over the low ground into the high ground. But it's pretty manageable. Now, the push is going to come in. There are enough Zealots, Dragoons, and Templars that you can basically stop this. And Zerg needs to act pretty quickly here, and that's why we're seeing the double expand come down. We getting the armor upgrade? Yeah, there it is. +2 attack. Sorry, +1 attack, +2 armor is... That's how they do it now. The Robo's going to finish. Do we actually have Lurkers out? Wow, this is really timed out nicely here by Best, in that he has just enough time to get the observers out. I assume the observatory is being made somewhere around here. There it is. To have that out before the Lurkers could create a real threat. So, for the Zerg, this is not going to be an easy game, but the Protoss doesn't have an easy time pushed in here either. This base is probably the most likely spot to push, but really the entrance is only here, and I mean, this entrance here is not even really a factor just because of how close it is to the Zerg. The Zerg may try to set up what looks like a contain, and the truth is that you can't really contain the Protoss here because they can go out this way, but he has something to spot over on this side for that. And this creates a little mini game where you have the Zerg's Lurkers, the Zerg Overlord, and of course the Zerg Hydra is out here. And they want to try to go for the Achilles heel of the unit comp, which is the Observer. Because if they snipe the Observer, well, I mean, then you're set. And Best taking a note from my games and losing all the Corsairs right when the game gets technical enough that it's hard to take care of them. Now, Protoss doesn't have to try to break out right now. You can kind of ignore this and take a 4th here. Zergs will have a lot of games where they just try to... okay, he's actually going to ditch it. This is probably a good call. You have a lot of games where they try to counterattack here or there. But I think he basically doesn't feel safe. And so we're going to see a Zerg really turtle up. And one thing to just go big picture here, you can see that, like, you know, the upper left side and the lower right side are under the control of each race. The top center is going to be a big factor here for both of these guys if we get into a long enough game. But this is not necessarily easy for either side at this point in time. So the push is going to come out. We've got Sunks being morphed over here. The Lurker setup is down here now. The Storm's coming. The Dragoon count is insane. And, I mean, Best is doing a really good job not just hemorrhaging his Zealots. The Storms come down. The Dragoons are going to be microed back. Really nice Storms from Best. And you can see he's back. No, he's not macroing yet. When it comes to Brood War, there's a period where you have to, like, know what you're prioritizing. Are you actually making stuff at home? And there you go. You see he's macroing now. He's not going to have that macro cycle happen, like during the attack, because that's a lot of times how you just lose the game. You can get so much more damage down. And so we've got the push coming in here. The Zealots are leading, but I think this is a bad read here for Best because these Zealots are just going to disappear with the Lurker spikes out here as it is. He's going to keep trying to push in. He's got to be careful. It seems like some of these observers are all on the same hotkey, so they're not really covering the same area. Dude, Hero's going to come around here from the bottom. I don't actually think that Best can get out of here. I mean, this is a huge play from Hero, just overpowering. Okay, I stand corrected, actually. It looks like he does manage to not get fully surrounded. And so the roaming Protoss is going to be okay. You know, in games like this, a lot of times it does come down to whether or not... By the way, shields? Huh. Is there not an extra forge? Oh, there is. Okay. Okay. Did not know that the shields play was the way to go. So, yeah, as long as the Protoss is roaming and actually getting kills and kind of getting back out with value, it's okay. It's very easy to just get overwhelmed at this point in time. But the Zerg is just going to keep trying to lay all these traps, you know, setting up this gauntlet to try to get through all of these positions. And the Protoss pushes. Again, there's so much down here for the Zerg. More Storms are blanketed. More Archons are made. Lings are going to come in. I only see Dragoons that can fight right now. The first Morphine Archon falls. The second finishes, but probably isn't enough. Just in the nick of time, you can see that Best is making just enough more Zealots that the Zerglings can't simply overpower the Dragoons. I mean, on both sides, you could see that there really is an understanding of what's next. Hero knows when he needs to keep Hydras up to try to push Observers back versus when he needs to morph Lurkers because he's going to get overwhelmed if he doesn't. And when and where to send those Zerglings, whereas every time Best reinforces, it's like the exact right units he needed because he knew during the fight what he was going to lose. So this base is going to be taken. I mean, this is a very organic base to end up taking because it's just in such close proximity to the rally point. I do want to point out this base can become a major factor here. It's kind of up in the air who gets this base. And so, while we're also talking about that, this one has been taken here as well. And you can always block these entrances with Lurkers and make it pretty impossible to get in. The Lings actually take this spot over here, killing off the Nexus. Beautifully done. And do we have Reaver tech? Not yet. It's not always the easiest thing to move into the Reaver section of the game. I'm going to check for Defilers in a second, but I want to just take a look at what's actually happening here. Okay, this is actually huge. I didn't realize that this was such a weak point. He's pushing in, and he's just going to get the hatchery. And, you know, with the creep dissipating, it's not going to be easy for Zerg to set up defenses there. Obviously, you can put Lurkers and Hydras, but having, you know, spores and sunken colonies, it makes a pretty big difference. It's funny, there was so much action up here that it seems like Hero overlooked the possibility of this being pushed and just trusted that he had enough sunken colonies that would ever be taken. We've got Defiler upgrades coming down. Consume going to be a major factor here with Dark Swarm and Plague. These are all the upgrades that are going to be coming in. And from this point in the game, the Zerg basically wants to chuck Plagues out and deteriorate the vitality of the army of the Protoss and then try to take fights when they can. I see chat saying Defilers seem pretty late. I think so, but I think he also had to hard lock for a little bit into just making Lurkers so he doesn't get overpowered. By the way, excuse me. The upgrade distribution, we have shields level 2 coming here, as well as attack level 3. So this is kind of interesting for me to see, like, so this is the order you make stuff in for upgrades now. I always thought you just went into 3-3 somehow, but apparently not. So the Observer is going to confirm that these bases are being taken over here. A Stray Templar is picked off. I mean, the number of Lurkers in this game has to be crazy. I don't actually know the hotkey for checking how many units have been made in a replay. I'm sorry, guys. I only do this for a living. Storms are going to come down. And I got to say, this is actually a pretty good exchange for the Protoss, but there's a lot more coming here for the Zerg. Pretty good dodges on the Psy Storms. The Archon's a little bit too pulled out here. If the Archons fall, the Dragoons alone are probably not going to be able to do that much more, but Best manages to micro the Archon's back. He's still sticking with 4, going up to 5 now. Dark Swarms go down, but it looks like with the Zealots and the damage that was already done, they're able to kind of deal with what's come at them. I believe Archons only do like the splash damage portion of their damage to whatever they're hitting. Chat's asking, do Reavers do damage into a Dark Swarm? Yes, they do. Yes. That's why you basically have to get Reavers as an endgame unit, because otherwise you're just beholden to the power of Dark Swarm. But we don't have that yet. We do see games where Protoss either don't tech into Reavers or tech in very late. One thing is when you tech into Reavers, the game does slow down, at least for a bit, for the Protoss until they can get the action kind of going again. I think that basically the game plan here from Best is to try to push up into this space and kill the workers here. And I gotta say, I mean, between these Psy Storms and the fights the Zealots are having, I mean, he is basically chasing the drones out. Can he actually get the kills on these drones? Or are they all gonna escape? It's what, 8 drones now on the move. And so, I mean, it almost works. I think these Archons should be cleaned up unless he can tuck it behind the minerals here. So, you know, not a failure, but not a success either. The minerals are mined out here, unsurprisingly. This base is still pretty rich. Obviously, this base is still pretty rich as well. Nobody's taken this spot over here. And for the Zerg, I mean, this is going to go away soon, as is this base. This one is really one of the cash cows, along with the position that we see Best is trying to break in right now. And it seems like there's just enough Lurkers. The Zealots can't overpower them. But with Psy Storms coming down, that's a moot point. And I gotta say, I mean, it's kind of incredible to see Best. No Reaver tech here. I'm curious what the mindset is and why, but it does seem to just barely be working. He just seems to have enough muscle to kind of move around the map and take these fights. He's going to do another blanketing of storms. The Hydras are a little bit injured here, but there's still more storms to come, demanding a lot of APM here from the Zerg. And right when the reinforcements come, so do the Protosses. Another set of storms come down. What's the armor here on these Zerglings is 2. Compared to the +3 attack there from the Zealots. Yeah, I think Protoss actually wins this by taking this position and then ultimately this position as well. Keep in mind there's still a Nidus here, but, you know, Zealot Archon is not going to have any problems against Zerglings. You need to get a lot of Lurkers out before that becomes an issue. No sunks, nothing being made. This is a wild game, man. I think we could be on the verge of the end of this. Oh, well, hold on a second. The Zealots are getting stuck back there. Some Hydras are going to come out. Keep in mind, with Hydras, if you snipe the Archons, they actually die pretty fast. Shields are not very good versus Hydra shots. So he keeps backing up. Is there any way that Best could just dive on top of the Nidus here? Morlings are going to come out. And that's going to be a dude. GG. What a game. Still a little bit of minerals left back here. We never had the Reaver tech, did we? Didn't see it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my solo cast here on my YouTube channel. Again, please follow the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. There's going to be a lot more stuff from me coming with that in the future. Check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/tastelesstv. And check out my merch shop. We've got cool shirts like this Gosu shirt with the Korean Hangul matching it. And a lot of other cool either Korean-themed stuff, gaming-themed stuff, RTS-themed stuff, even a little bit of fighting game-themed stuff on there. So, yeah, do that, and I hope to see you in another future cast. Thank you so much for watching.